Hello, welcome to a I don't know, a weird edition of Locked on Sharks. I'm JD Young, one half of the Content Boys. Kyle is currently at the Seahawks Lions game, and we're hoping for the over on 12 and a half beers because Bet Online will give us some money. But today I brought in Hunter of Locked on Penguins to talk about a wild Sharks Penguins game. Hunter, how's it going, buddy?
Yeah, it's the first Penguins game in 2 weeks, so it was bound to have something crazy happen. And 4 goals in the first 6 minutes would qualify, and then almost losing a 6-1 lead would qualify as well. So that was a very crazy game. Obviously, happy for the Penguins to get their eighth straight win, but just a lot of back and forth for that one.
Yeah, we'll get into it here in a second, but yeah, definitely one of the crazier games the Sharks have played, especially coming off a 8-7 shootout win over Arizona a couple days ago. So yeah, we'll get into 10 a.m. woes for the Sharks, and maybe a 5-goal lead is now the most dangerous lead in all the NHL. So let's get this bad boy started here.
You're Locked on Sharks, your daily podcast on the San Jose Sharks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
So yeah, I mean, the Sharks 10 a.m. games have been a bane to their existence for a long time. And it didn't help out when it being the first game on a road trip, not having to play 2 games. So I went into this game expecting pretty sloppy period, especially with the first period, especially with the Penguins not having played since December 19th or something like that. And the Penguins just came out and decided, no, we're just going to boat race you guys for the first 20 minutes. And it was just brutal start for the Sharks. Like, they couldn't do anything right.
It was weird because when I did the preview for my episode on Thursday, Friday, James Reimer came into this, I think, top 10 in goals saved above expected. He looked anything but that goaltender that I saw in that game. Just couldn't make a stop to save his life. I mean, he's obviously not like one of the top tier starters in the league, but he's still good enough to not have many of those kind of games. And it's honestly not something the Penguins have done a lot this year. They've been goalied quite a lot by a lot of different goalies. So to see them kind of get back at a goalie like that is it's a little welcome, just because their finishing ability has not been good for most of the season. It started to regress a little bit before they had to pause for a couple weeks, but today kind of went back in that other direction. But yeah, Pittsburgh was ready to play. It is weird because usually matinee games, whether it's a Saturday or Sunday, the Penguins just struggle. Don't know what it is. They usually never have their A effort. But this one will qualify, especially when you're getting a team that thinks it's 10 a.m. playing. And on NFL Sunday, I honestly don't remember the last time they had a 1 o'clock start time on a Sunday where all football was playing. So that was a nice welcome change. But Pittsburgh was fired up for this one. Again, they haven't played in 2 weeks. They still have a few COVID players in COVID protocol. And they had some big impacts from 2 players, one of which has just been a force all season.
Yeah, I mean, we saw, Rodrigues had a hat trick and Rust had a hat trick as well. And, it's like for the Sharks, it was just, we've seen this before where, especially the years prior, where just things go bad and the team snowballs for, just brutal, like we're just total collapse. And I mean, it was not years past, this game would have ended like, 7-2 or something like that. But it was nice for the Sharks to be able to kind of try to build, fight their way back in. And it was a 1-goal lead, with 15 minutes left in the third period. And, how were you feeling during that part? Because I mean, I was like, there's still a lot of time left to score another, to tie this thing up. But I mean, the Sharks were just, with that, sometimes you just run out of gas. And the Sharks got a lot of lucky bounces to even get, it within one. I'm thinking like the Nieto goal where it literally bounces off the boards and comes back and hits to Smith and goes in. But like, how are you feeling watching the Penguins on the verge of a collapse there?
Oh yeah, I mean, I tweeted you. It was a total clench butt cheek season. I mean,
Yeah.
all Penguins fans, and I tweeted before, it was looking like it was going to be a nice, easy Sunday. And a lot of Pittsburgh sports fans are not used to this. The Steelers just try to, we shouldn't say break everyone's heart, but they just have to give everyone like 5,000 heart attacks every Sunday throughout the fall and winter. And it looked like the Penguins were going to be like, okay, we're not the Steelers for this Sunday. Well, in typical Pittsburgh sports fashion, they had to make it a little more close than normal. But I mean, credit to the Sharks for getting back in the game. That good bounce for Nieto. I really don't know what Casey DeSmith was doing there, but Burns gets the power play goal. Couture scores on a nice shot from about, I think it was 10 feet out, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And they're right in business. And DeSmith had to make a couple of big saves through those last 15 minutes. I think a big part of it was Mike Sullivan kind of calling timeout, and then because the team was kind of turtling a little bit, and how can you not when a team?
Yeah, I mean, if you're up by 5 goals, you're gonna be like, whatever. Yeah, let's just get to the next game. Yeah, totally
Exactly.
makes sense there.
Yeah, and like in the second period, I know that there was like 4 minutes left at one point, and I was saying to myself, like, man, these players just want to probably end the game right now. They don't want to go out there and play another period, and that's the danger of it, because sure, it's a big lead, but anything can happen. Kudos to Mike for calling that timeout, because I thought the Penguins really brought it those last 12 or 13 minutes or so. San Jose, I thought, it's got some good chances. As I said, DeSmith had a couple of big saves, but Pittsburgh started to turn the tide of the game a little bit back in their favor, like how they were playing in the first and early portions of the second. Ultimately, they were able to get that big goal, that seventh goal, with about a couple minutes left, and then of course the empty netter.
Yeah, and that was at that time that was big, I thought too, where you could see Pittsburgh kind of start to make the push again, especially for after San Jose had been outplaying them for a good chunk of the game there, and then but yeah, and then the penalty by Nieto that led to the final kind of the nail in the coffin there with the power play goal too. It's like, you can't, if you're gonna make a comeback, you can't give up these dumb penalties and stuff. And it's just that was like a positioning penalty where Nieto just was caught out of position type of thing. So but I mean, watching all those goals, Hunter, I don't know about you, but it got me a little hungry. I was exhausted after watching all that. You know what I reached for?
What was it?
I reached for a Built Bar.
There you go. That's a perfect way to go into it.
Yes, because it's a new year, so that means New Year's resolutions. If yours is about getting fit or eating healthier, make sure you include Built Bar into your plan. Built Bar is the protein bar that tastes like a candy bar, maybe even better than a candy bar. Built Bar makes it easier to stick with your resolution because it tastes so good you'll want to eat it. Unlike other protein bars, which can be chalky or waxy or taste like a chemical spill, you don't want that. That's why if you want to eat healthy, but it just goes so boring by like week 3, you're like, this isn't worth it. Where's the chocolate? That's where you reach for Built Bars. They're 100% covered in 100% real chocolate. Each bar contains 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 grams of net carbs, and 17 grams of protein. Compare that to a candy bar, which is usually around 240 calories, 30 grams of sugar, and dozens of net carbs. So make sure you go check out. They have a bajillion flavors to choose from, like coconut almond.
What's your favorite one?
My flavor, I like the coconut almond and the cherry barcia. Those are my favorites.
Cookies and cream all the way for me. I can't get enough of that one.
So if you need to go check them out. If you don't know what to pick, they have the mix boxes where you can kind of get a little bit of everything to go try them out. Make sure you guys go to built.com, use the promo code locked15, to get 15% off your order. Again, use the promo code locked15 for 15% off at built.com. All right, we do have a big question. Is Zachary Sawchenko the greatest goaltender in Sharks history or NHL history? Because he was playing out of his mind. I know we said the Penguins kind of turtle a little bit, but coming in, stopping, I think he stopped like 19 of 20 shots, 20 of 21 shots, and made some huge saves to keep the Sharks somewhat in this game for a while. And coming in, I don't know if that was just pure adrenaline coming in on making your NHL debut and stuff like that, because he hasn't had the greatest AHL career, but wow, Zachary Sawchenko, my hat off to you, buddy.
I honestly, JD, excuse me, I did not even really know who he was coming into this game. I thought it was just a make a name AHL goalie, and then comes in and probably robs the Penguins of 4 or 5 sure goals. I think Rodrigues was robbed of 1. I think Sid was robbed of 1 or 2. Jake was as well, and he made a lot of really great saves. Where it's almost, I was just kind of saying there like, wow, I wonder he could have started today. I think the game would have been a lot different. But just a really solid job, I thought, from him, and I definitely think he's probably going to get more of a look moving forward. I know Reimer obviously starts the majority of the games, and rightfully
Yeah.
so. He makes that kind of money. But do you think that they'll probably start to give him some more reps now that he had, some of his first NHL acts under the belt and looked pretty good against one of the better teams?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, especially because Aiden Hill made a rehab start with the Barracuda today, and he didn't look super sharp today. And he's been we've had our Aiden Hill's issues too. And, and like you can't start Reimer 1,000 games in a row, especially, I mean, as well as Reimer's played this year, he is a kind of an older veteran, and you don't want to, kind of run the wheels off of him. So, and the Sharks schedule does kind of ease up here. They play the Red Wings, the Sabres, the Flyers, and then the Red Wings again, I think, like in that time. So there are some easier competition here. So I wouldn't be shocked if he got start some time on this road trip, especially against one of these kind of, basement dwelling teams. But I mean, yeah, I thought the kid looked good, and I don't know if this is this definitely isn't something that's going to, we're not finding the next Jordan Bennington or something like that here out of him. But like, good for the kid. He came in. I mean, the guys played hard for him, and it was nice to see after the game where like all the guys came out and kind of gave him the little pats on the head and stuff like that, like that you normally would see from a winning goalie. But like, it's the kid played hard and the team played hard for him, and that's all you can ask for sometimes.
No, yeah, for sure. And if I recall correctly as well, I think this was the Penguins' first win in their last 4 games against the Sharks. I think if that sounds right, and they're going to get them again in a couple of weeks when the Penguins make their monster West Coast trip out there. I think that they have a 6-game road trip to there. Vegas. I think Philadelphia is one. No. Dallas is one of the other ones. They just have a huge Western swing coming up. And I also touched on that. I was going to get your thoughts on this, JD. I touched on this in one of my episodes last week. Just watching the Sharks today, they still have a lot of that high-end talent, but I'm still not sure where they're going, this year and just for their immediate future, just because, you look at the team and I'm like, okay, I used to be able to close to name almost every player on this roster. Now I just feel like, there's definitely a lot of unknowns there. It was nice to see Burns get that goal today. As he gets older, I mean, obviously his play is going to regress a little bit. Couture still really good. Timo Meyer's having a hell of a season.
Mm-hmm.
Tomas Hertl, I don't really know what's going to go on there. I've said many times on my show, I'd love if the Penguins be able to get him, but I don't think that's just the price to get him would probably be way too high. Just where do you see the Sharks at overall, like this season and moving forward, just with the core and everything?
Yeah, this is going to be I think this next month is going to be really interesting for the Sharks, especially where, the management's been like, we want to make the playoffs, et cetera. But like, this team it's kind of just in that creamy middle right now. And it's like, you saw like the Penguins are a good to great team, right? I don't know if I'd put them up there with the like Colorado's and, Vegas's and of the world, but like, they're going to make some noise in the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
We saw what happened with the Sharks. Like when they play these teams, they just get demolished constantly. Like it's okay. Like, yeah, they play the bad teams and they beat the bad teams and they're competitive with the middle teams. But like anytime they play anybody with, other than Calgary, who for some reason they just seem to have Calgary's number this year, but like they play these teams and they just, they're either scrambling to try to get back in the game or they just don't have it with them. So, I think with what you could get for Hertl, I think they're going to get an offer too good, especially because, I mean, what team doesn't want to add either the best 2C in the league or, easily a top 6, forward to your team who has had a lot of proven playoff success. I mean, he was a catalyst in the Western Conference run. I mean, Sharks fans love Tomas Hertl. Like he's easily the fan favorite right now, but like, if you're going to be able to get a first round and potentially a team's top prospect, and if somebody doesn't want to offer it, you go to the next team. And, because I mean, there's going to be teams lined up around the block trying to get Tomas Hertl. So the way the season's going, I have a feeling he's going to be traded at the deadline, and I'm going to be a very, very sad Sharks fan because he's my favorite Shark right now. But, it's this you know, like Brent Burns, like you said before, I mean, he scored today, but like Brent Burns has not been the same player, you know, and it's like Erik Karlsson's been amazing this year, but like you can't, you know, it's like you can't, you need a little bit more than Erik Karlsson and Timo Meier, you know, doing stuff. And they just don't have that depth. And I think adding another top end guy to go with William Eklund, this would be good, the best thing for the franchise, because I think they found a centerpiece with William Eklund. And then if you can add that running mate, and I mean, you've, as the Penguins, you know, having those top end guys. I mean, I'm not expecting Eklund to be Crosby or anything like that, but like having those top end guys, you can do a lot of stuff with that, and having that centerpiece. So
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like once you have your like, excuse me, once you have like your core in place, then then your job is a lot easier, just because you just have to get the moves right with building around them. And you know, Karlsson, going back to him for a sec, you're right. He has had a rejuvenated season, just because, if I recall correctly, he was struggling a lot these last couple of years. I think various injuries, not looking like himself. I mean, you know, there was a time just, you know, 4 to 5 short years ago that he was a top 5 player in the league, probably the best defenseman in hockey, arguably the best defenseman of this generation with how he was playing and just
yeah,
putting win totals. And then comes to San Jose, looks good. It looks good, I think, at the start, and then just kind of it tapers off. Just, I think it's just because of the injuries or something. Like when I was
yeah,
watching, you know, going into today's game and everything, it's not the same with him. And I feel bad, just because he was always one of my favorite players that I loved watching. And, you know, to see, like, you know, a decline in his level, it definitely stinks. And, you know, honestly, the same goes for Vlasic, because he signed
oh,
that monster contract. I
Vlasic.
believe it was like 3 or something. For some reason, Doug Wilson thought that was good money. And I think he was on the bottom pair today. And I think I mean, that's just a nosedive right there with
Yeah,
the underlying numbers and stuff.
yeah, he's been on the bottom pair all season, and he's been flirting with being healthy scratched. It's gotten that bad, and you know, Sharks fans have been, you know, it's brutal. So like, because like Kyle, that's one of his favorite players all time is Vlasic, and like,
Mhm.
you know, he was just bad today. I mean, I'm not a big plus minus guy, but I think yeah, he was like -3 or something, and he was out there for like 4 goals against type of thing, and it's just like that you know, like Milosh Vlasic combo at the like bottom pair was just getting eaten alive today. And so I would not be surprised to see, I know with Mario Ferraro right now, I wouldn't be surprised for them to try to maybe shuffle up that bottom pair to try to find something. Ryan Merkley is on the taxi squad and with the team right now, so hopefully maybe he could come in and provide at least some more offense. But yeah, it's been just that bottom, especially for a team that's trying to win every game 3-2 behind good goaltending and good defense. And when you give up 4 goals in the first 6 minutes and your defense is a tire fire, and you know, like it's just been bad. So yeah, I have a feeling that this team is probably not a lot more 8-5 losses, but I have a feeling that this team is going to be heading down towards another, you know, another top draft pick this year, which probably is going to be the best thing for them. So
I would say that, you know, I've always had a saying, you know, if you're not competing and you're not tanking, I
what
mean,
are you doing?
you're in the middle. And I think that's, you know, that's where the Sharks are right now. And they had
Yeah.
that good start to the season, you know, overall. They were in that playoff picture, and they've been 500 for, I would say, the whole year. And then it's just kind of gone a little downhill lately. And I know the Pacific Division stinks. It's probably, I would say, the worst division in hockey. I mean, the Metro's competitive, but
Yeah.
I mean, I see a lot of middling teams there as well. I wasn't as high on our division as I was on others, but I mean, I think they've just created themselves too big of a hole to climb out of, and you know, they still have a lot of tough games left after, you know, this stretch of a road trip that they have, and I think, you know, the organization needs to see that, like, you know, these middling teams, if you're going to be stuck in neutral, you got to pick a side. And
Yeah, it's the worst thing. Yeah, sitting on the fence the whole time is the worst thing, and that's where Kyle and I have been too. And I mean, people have listened to Locked On Sharks. We know, like,
yeah,
you know, the good time Sharks, good vibe Sharks at the beginning of the season were really fun, you know, and but like as soon as William Eklund left, the team has just been not the same, and you know, and it's okay to be bad again, and you know, again, you're trying to find, if you're trying to build a winning, you know, the whole thing is to win a championship, and if you can find that guy that you think that you can pair with William Eklund, and then you have your superstars for the next 10 to 12 years.
Oh, yeah.
That's the hardest part, right? So, and I think the Sharks, they've got some bad contracts that they're going to have to either ride out or eat between, the Burns contract, the Vlasic contract's bad. You have Kane, who's, playing on the AHL right now. And it's just, it's going to be brutal for a couple of years, but William Eklund's coming, kids. William Eklund is coming.
Yeah, he's going to be a force once he's up there full time. Yeah. From the game overall today and just the season, who do you think have been like the Sharks' biggest bright spots overall?
Timo Meier, has definitely been a big bright spot. He responded well from being benched. So last game against the Flyers, he was didn't get the puck in deep enough, and then the Flyers ended up tying the game, and then he was benched in overtime, replaced by Matt Nieto of all people, in overtime. Yes. And then, but responded well today, had three primary assists. Yep. So, but Timo Meier has been on fire all year. And then Erik Karlsson, as we talked about earlier, where he's, I think he's fully healthy from that groin injury, that he hurt in the 18-19 year. And, and like, he's just been, he's not the same, like Erik Karlsson, the best defenseman in the world, but he's been, if he's Erik Karlsson, maybe a top 10 defenseman in the world, like that's
still pretty good.
That's still pretty good, and you'll take that. So yeah, I think those have probably been the two brightest spots for the Sharks, especially coming into the expectations for the season and where they're at right now. So
yeah, again, I don't think a lot of people expected them to be at 500 this year. I think, a lot of people thought they would just be one of the basement teams, and I wouldn't say Arizona level bad. That's just no. But bad enough where they would be kind of at a top 5 pick right now. But they're not even at that level yet. But it's still been it's still early. There a lot of stuff can happen, but. I'm excited for the matchup coming up in a couple weeks because I think you're going to see a much more healthier Penguins team, both COVID and injuries. I can tell you for sure Evgeny Malkin is going to be back for that matchup. I think he should be back in the next. He should be back in the next week. He's been full contact for the last few days. They're not really rushing him. He said he wants to be ready for the California road trip. So. Voila! But for either the first or second game in, he'll be playing against the Sharks. It might be a little before then. The 3 players from the COVID list will be back, unless God willing, none other get on the COVID list. But this team is fun to watch. It was a bit of a slow start for the Penguins this year, but I always say this as well. You can count the Penguins out at your own peril. You can say that they're going to miss the playoffs. I don't think anyone's really going to believe you until that actually
happens. Yeah.
As long as Sidney Crosby still has a pulse, and Chris Letang and Evgeny Malkin and Jake Gensel and Tristan Jarry playing really well, that this team is going to be a pretty dangerous team going into the playoffs unless they have a epic collapse, I think, at the end of the season.
What do you think is kind of getting out of here on this? What do you think is the one thing the Penguins need to add or do to kind of make them from going from like a really good team to like one of those playoff, like Stanley Cup caliber teams?
Ad wise, I think they might be okay though. I think
just healthy bodies. Yeah.
It's mainly being healthy. Yeah. This team has battled so many injuries throughout the season. This is their second COVID outbreak of the year. They were one of the first teams to have it. When your Sharks were going through a huge COVID outbreak, the Penguins were at the same time as well. But I think your coach was out. Mike Sullivan was out at the same time. Sidney Crosby was. I know you had a ton of your players out as well. So they just got to stay healthy. I could see Hextall going out and making a trade like he did last year because he said he wanted to reward the team. Of course, goes out and gets Jeff Carter, and look how great he's been for the Penguins. But I don't know if they're going to do this year just because I don't see a lot of weaknesses on the roster. Their defensive corps is above average, and that's probably the first time I can say that in quite a few years, just because they've had anchors on the defense. I don't have to remind everyone that Jack Johnson once played for this team. Thank God that's not here. I thank God that's not happening here anymore. But yeah, just healthy bodies. They got to continue to get good goaltending. Jarry's been top 5, top 6 basically all season in goals saved above expected. Their power play has to be better. And I think, honestly, they just got to keep finishing their chances a bit better. The depth has been great. Evan Rodrigues is playing like someone who's trying to get $4 million per on his next contract when he makes not even $1 million right now. There's a lot to like with them. I mean, I say, why not them to come out of the East? But I think it would take a lot to probably beat a team like Tampa or Florida in the best of 7. But this is a dangerous team, I think, and if they continue to get healthy, I think they're going to look even better.
Yeah, I mean, they look good, and I like I said, I think they're going to make some noise. Like, I don't know if they're quite up there with those other teams, but you never know. The playoffs are a fickle beast, and we've all seen weird stuff happen in the playoffs, especially with both of our teams, where you never know. It's just the right balance and stuff like that. So, Hunter, where can the good people find you?
So the content fanboys can find Roy here at Hunter Hodes on Twitter. The show's Twitter is at LO_Penguins, and you can find the show on Apple, Spotify, and on YouTube now. It's been on YouTube for the last few weeks. I've been having a lot of fun with that. Been trying to figure out my lighting and stuff. I finally been able to figure something decent out so I don't look like a freaking zombie on my freaking video podcast episodes. But that's where you can find the show. If any of you Shark fans want to come and listen to me blabber about the Penguins, you can find it there. And of course, these two teams will be playing each other really soon again.
Yeah, the 15th. I'm trying to go to that game, so fingers crossed. Thank you, Hunter. Even though you have bad takes about tacos online, I saw that the other day.
Hard pass when I saw that huge chart, and if I had to take one out of what was it, burgers, pasta, whatever, I'm taking that out every single time. JD, where can everyone find you on the socials in the Sharks podcast, please?
They, of course, can find me on Twitter at myfryhole, where I am constantly online. You can find us, of course, at Locked On Sharks, where we shitpost 87% of the time and manifest the other 13% of the time. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, same handles, and YouTube. Subscribe. We're, I think, 20 away from 500 subscribers, so make sure you guys subscribe. Once I do, I will recreate the jumbo slide in my living room, so make sure you guys do that. Slam that subscribe button.
I'm barely at 50, and I've only been there for a few weeks. So once I get up to there, I'm gonna be cooking.
Yeah. So. We'll be back tomorrow. I think we're previewing the Red Wings with the Red Wings guys. What do you got coming up this week, Hunter?
Yeah, so the Penguins have off for a couple days. They don't play Tuesday. Obviously this episode will be coming out on Monday. Wednesday they play. Oh, geez, I almost forgot for a sec. They play the Blues on Wednesday, Philadelphia Thursday. So very busy time for the Penguins, and then they go to Dallas, and then they have that monster road trip coming up. So just a lot of game recaps this week, and I'll try to have a couple of guests on as well. And should be a great 5 episodes this week. I'm glad that the team is finally back in action here, JD, because for the last 2 weeks, it's definitely been it's been a little tough, but I've still been able to come up with some good content. There's never nothing to talk about with the Penguins. They're always a team that is very entertaining.
Yes, that makes up for a little bit for having to cover the Sharks during the bubble playoffs when there's
yeah.
All right, we will catch you guys tomorrow. Thank you guys for making us your first listen. Go check out Locked On Bets if you want to go make some money. Especially, I got to go pay those holiday bills, pay off all that stuff. So go check out Locked On Bets. They are on fire. And go check out one of the other amazing podcasts on the Locked On Network, Locked On Steelers, which I'm sure is probably going to have a lot of stuff about Roethlisberger now. And then
that's just a bunch of sad boy hours with our boy Chris. Great guy though.
Locked On Warriors. Go watch the best team in basketball. So, and we'll check you guys out tomorrow.